I would think we could look at resumes in executive session and discuss qualifications, but I believe you're right that any action we take would have to be an open session. However, I don't know that we have to go through a list orally and accept or reject each one for further consideration. It occurred to me we could have a checklist of available resumes that each council member could indicate their preference on which ones to bring forward for further consideration in writing, and simply compile the list so that we would then vote on a list of council members' requests to bring resumes forward for consideration. Would be more efficient and would avoid any possible embarrassment for people who would be sitting in the audience and hear someone say, "No, I don't want to consider this person." That we would instead have a list of those candidates that someone on council wanted to bring forward for consideration. Keep it a bit more polite and neutral at that phase.
Councilman Steiger?
Well, I don't know whether it would work or not, but I think it's worth throwing it out there. Just have somebody ask the mayor, in light of everything that's happened, is he would be willing to step down now and help us through our transition? It's going to happen. What's the difference if it happens tomorrow or happens next week?
Councilman Walker?
I met with him yesterday. We chatted yesterday. He's preparing a transition memo, and we're going to meet, I think, this week. He's in the office on Wednesday. So, I mean, I can ask him, but I would assume it's probably going to be the same answer. Always has, but always asking. But he is preparing a transition memo with what he's working on and where it's at and the status of projects he's working on.
I think the honorable thing would be to ease us to go through this transition. But what it is, it is. It can't hurt fast.
Other comments from council? So, what would council like to move forward and have on the agenda for Monday?
Well, we probably should vote on which option we want to pursue. Do we want to pick the councilman as mayor, or do we want to open it up?
Is that something we want to move forward to for a vote on Monday? Councilmember McMahon?
I think by the time we get to Monday, that'll be
The
something
next
to ask.
day, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking, we have a consensus to open it up to the public. Councilmember Walker?
I know everyone's going to hate this idea, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. I'd like to see some kind of community involvement as well. I know the people I spoke to when we're working with the manager form of government committee, I think Normandy Park, when they hired their city manager, they had their applicants come in, they met with community groups, members of the council, citizens, to interview, and those people that were at that meeting were invited into, and employees, and were part of the selection process. They didn't completely, make the decision, but staff was invited into executive session to provide feedback on each candidate. During the interview process, citizens were invited to provide their interaction, more of a laid-back setting, not necessarily testimony, but during a meet and greet type session. So, we're picking somebody for the next 2 years. So, and they not only have to work with council, they have to work with staff and with citizens as well, which is, I would say, more important than us.
Councilmember?
I actually like that idea of having more community involvement. And the one thing to keep in mind as we're trying to move forward on a less divisive city is that roughly a third of the voters out there did say they'd rather keep the mayor. And maximizing the openness of the selection process and the availability of public comment on the candidates does seem to me like it would help build the legitimacy of whoever is selected.
So how would you form that committee between now and Monday?
I don't know that that's possible. Unfortunately, I think that would be an option that would require a longer period of interim government by the Mayor Pro Tem, or in the Mayor Pro Tem's absence, the President.
Councilman Walker?
I think Pacific Days is a perfect opportunity. I mean, we have.
To form a committee?
Not to form a committee, but to provide the citizens an opportunity to interact with the candidates. If we form our list next, our top 7 or 5 or 10 or whatever it is next week, and we have an opportunity to interview them here, maybe whittle it down a little more and say, you know, we give it an opportunity from such and such time at Pacific Days to interact with the candidates and provide feedback to council. I know it doesn't meet the timeline that we're looking for, but we all said it earlier, Pacific Days is a great opportunity for community building. I think it's a perfect opportunity to interact with the new, or potentially new mayor.
Councilman Steiger?
Just a suggestion, we're trying to work around McMahon's schedule, and that is a crunching schedule, and he wants to run.
Not for mayor. Right.
What would happen if we just miss that step and go right from where we are right now to council president, do Leanne? And do not put the Mayor Pro Tem into the scope of our realigning at all right now.
Don't move. Can't do that.
Councilman Putnam?
I believe the Mayor Pro Tem's role is specified in the code, so in order to do that, I think what we'd actually have to do is convince the two of them to move to swap roles. James could become the president of the council while Leanne was the Mayor Pro Tem. That way, they were in the proper roles to do it that way.
The only concern with that would be, and not necessarily my concern, but one that may be expressed, is that as a person that's expressed interest in that role, taking it and then applying for it again might be an advantage, seen by some as an advantage. Not saying that I want it. I think Josh would wait.
I don't have nearly the time available to be mayor, I'm sorry.
Can you say that again?
I don't have nearly the time available it would take to be mayor.
It's a part-time job.
So what about between now and then? We've talked about a couple of different things. I think the first one is council comfortable moving forward and soliciting candidates now? Of course, to be most appropriate, make that the solicitation contingent upon a certification of the recall, but get that process out, you know, again with the same focus that I mentioned earlier of assessment and options, so that council's got as many options available to it, should it so choose to take advantage of them. Get solicitation out and invite applications to come in now. Yeah?
Yeah, I think, well, and I think simply by the reporting of our discussion tonight, people will be aware that we are accepting applications, and they don't need an engraved invitation to submit them. We've already received some.
I'm thinking if I want to say or not.
While he's thinking, Councilmember Putnam mentioned next week granting temporary authority to, whether it's, well, I think it would be by title of Mayor Pro Tem, whether it's me or somebody else, to enter into temporary 30-day maximum contract for the orderly transition and conduct of business. Does council want to move forward on having that prepared and presented for next week? Is that an agenda item that we want to add?
can we include Auburn's proposal as modified, or can we even modify it this week as well as the contract?
Yes.
That way we can consider them both.
I know one of the things that Leanne's been working on is big on her list this week is she's been the committee point person on that. We tried not to call it professional help, but this is the word, professional help. In finding that outside professional assistance, and with the list of subject areas that we're looking for expertise on, she's been reaching out to area jurisdictions and other resources, like MRSC, like the Association of Cities, like the City and County Managers Association, like Down Cities Association and others. So she's got a good idea about exactly what it is that we're looking for and who is offering what. And so I think by Monday of next week, if all goes well, and I've asked Pacifica to help her get these ready, so that best case scenario, we show up Monday, we've got a list of interlocal agreements, whether it's, we want to take item 2 and 6 that Auburn offered, we want number 1 that Federal Way offered, and, on down the list, that we could get those approved by council. Maybe we prepare the authority for the mayor pro tem as an alternative in case that's not fully ready to go, to have it approved by council. Again, that we've got as many options as we can.
One of the blocks that we're running into as well is not knowing specifically what to ask for. And that's why we're getting this generic, this little blanket that we can offer this and this, here's this range, here's this range. Not knowing exactly what we need, but having the resources available that, identifying who we can go to and what we can get. And so, but one of the other stumbling blocks I'm going to have this week is the holiday. So a lot of people are not working Thursday and Friday. So that's why I've been really crunching, working with different people. And Mayor Lewis got this to me today, working with his staff and getting it out. They're talking about their council. King County sent us an email. I have financial assistance for you, whatever you need, let us know. So now that conversation is taking place. So, but just not knowing exactly what to ask for, just knowing that this is a resource I get to go to and ask, okay, I need this.
Speaking of not having enough time, I have a family commitment at 7:30, so I need to get out of here. Someone would like to take over taking notes of what we're discussing.
Thanks.
Sorry for having to run away.
No worries. I think we're almost finished. So one of the items for Monday's meeting then to bring forward would be whatever contracts or interlocal agreements that we have compiled at that point, bring those forward. Correct? I'm going to put that down. Go ahead.
And I'll ask Pacifica, I made some notes, I'll ask Pacifica for maybe some advice and guidance about how to do the actual selection process, what they've seen other jurisdictions do, trying to remember your or Josh's suggestion about kind of a list that council members say, I want to add so-and-so to the list, or, these two people, the implication of that. The first thing that went through my head is that taking action in secret, because somebody who's sitting in the chair wouldn't necessarily be able to see that list, that we would all, I'm sure that more than 3 of us would add to the list. So ask those kind of questions that, and be able to either get back to council by email or Monday night.
Councilman Walker?
I would think that it would, if my name's not on it, it'd be a public record. We'll request it to see what we see after selected. Just don't write your name on it. We don't need to know who picked who anyway. But have the attorney look at it, because that's what they do.
So, are we going to be wanting to put on Monday's agenda then interviews of any potential candidates for Monday, or would that start? No, that won't start until the 9th. Or will it?
I'm thinking maybe we wait until the 9th, because that way I were particularly a member of the public and not a council member, and I was interested in being mayor, and I was told, plan to be there, and the first thing that happens is council goes round and round and round about how do we select who we interview, and how do we narrow the process down. I would feel like that's something the council should have figured out ahead of time, yeah.
I agree.
So I'm thinking if we do Monday, or if we set a goal by the time we leave and continue Monday's meeting, we know and we've decided how we're going to select the interviewees, how we're going to conduct that process. I'll have information for us to guide us if there is any. And then when we start the continued meeting on Tuesday, we know what the process is, and now it's just time to get in it. Because there are those who think that we've got a lot of information and big decisions in a short period of time, and we can maximize efficiency of that time.
So, I'm just curious, if we wanted a public announcement, like publicly reporters that we're taking applications, City Pacific is taking applications for residents to apply for, like, prior to Monday, hoping that we'll see it in the Autumn Reporter.
Can I write your headline for you?
Yes.
I was just thinking that that's how we want to at least try to get the word out, and then we also have Jean here that will probably be able to spread the word for us as well. And I don't know if we want to put it on the reader board, you know?
Yeah, and
Councilmember Walker?
I think if we can get on the website, get on the report, as much
Openness
to do
and
as we
out
can
to,
do.
you know, that. Is council okay with that we try to list those things so that we are moving forward on Monday?
yeah, and I think that's good, and that will help. I keep trending back to your point about the getting broader community involvement, and we want to make sure. I also took that we want to make sure that we get the message penetrated as deeply as we can, so that we get all the best and brightest and best candidates we can for this job. I think some of that's self-exclusive as well, because if we're talking about a mayor who's going to come in and take over the helm after what our city's been through, hopefully it's somebody who already has a good understanding about what's been going on in the city. I mean, I don't know, I'd be very comfortable casting a vote for mayor for somebody who's like, wow, we've been having trouble. Well, I think great for fixing trouble. Here's a super impressive, resume of, doing these kinds of things across the country. But if that person wasn't aware of what's happening here, I don't know that I'd be comfortable voting for them for mayor. So I think some of that the community involvement and the buy-in, that should be self-selecting just by the nature of how public and notorious our problems have been, right?
Yes, but without the public's ability to speak to them and talk to them, get their view on things, I mean, there's a lot of work to do, and there's two sides to every story. So, which way are things going to go? What's your 60-day plan? Questions that every citizen's going to have, and every citizen has their own viewpoint of where they want to see the city go. They're all going to ask unique questions. I think people should be vetted a little better than what we're going to do in a 5-minute interview and a 10-minute resume screen.
Councilmember Holstein.
As I recall, in the past 2 years, we saw a fairly impressive resume that wasn't real accurate.
Hey, have you seen my resume?
One thing that comes to mind is probably some of the citizens of the community that have been engaged with what's been going on in the community are sitting right here. They're here every week. If they have questions, maybe they want to submit as a way for their involvement. They've been, most of the people sitting here have been here at every meeting for the past 18 months and have a really good understanding of what has been going on in the city, have talked to their neighbors, have talked to their friends. And maybe they could help vet the questions. or, you know, and maybe that could be their involvement, or, I don't know, part of me says, do we pick a panel of 3 of them for, you know, to interview the candidates for mayor? There are people that are here week in and week out. You know, if you want, I mean, it's a thought that came to my mind.
No, I think it's great, and I applaud everyone for showing up as much as they have in the last 18 months. There's a lot of people that can't, and we always complain about there's 3,000 voters and only 1,200 people voted, and then yet we provide 20 people the opportunity to interact with this new mayor that's going to be here for 2 years. I just think we need more involvement. I don't know how that works.
I don't know how you get it. You know.
Free beer.
I like it.
Can I ask a question or no?
The chair will entertain a question from the audience.
Do I have to look there?
I'm going to be nice and let you sit right there, because this is a workshop, this is informal.
Okay, my
Talk
question,
loud, though.
oh, no problem. My question is, you have, let's say, 42 people that send you in a resume, and you get it narrowed down. Each one of you has your favorite. You think Bob, she thinks Joe, Sam, and Mike, and it comes to a vote, and everybody gets one vote. How do you go from there? If you've got that many people applying, you know, what happens if you all have your one that you think that person's got the job?
I'd be excited to see that many people.
Well, you never, you know, I'm scared who's gonna apply.
Well, I thought a lot about this, and whoever I vote for actually gets a vote and a half, so
Gets a vote and a half.
that's part of that process that I think
You're
we would have
funny.
to figure out on Monday is how do we deal with tiebreakers? How do we narrow down the field of candidates to be able to address that? Because we could sit here all night.
Exactly.
You know, maybe LT will take them out back and shake them down and find out if we can
Councilmember Walker.
The other thing is the council members, any council members that decide to throw their hat in the ring can't vote.
Cannot vote?
No.
No.
So it could be 2 council members picking your next mayor. And LP, you can vote too.
But I do have a comment.
I thought Joe was calling on her.
You know, I come to a lot of these meetings, and this is about what I see here. And I think that the people that are here on a regular basis, they know what's been going on for the last 1.5 year period. They know what's been broken. They know what needs to be fixed. You've all been extensively involved in trying to make things work, and now we're at a point where there's an opportunity to springboard forward and fix things that have been broken. I don't understand why the city council, since you've been directly involved in knowing what's broken and what needs to be fixed, why it can't be one of you on the council, whether it's the pro tem mayor or someone that's sitting on the council, can move forward, since you've been directly involved in that process of trying to fix things for the last 1.5 years.
Can we clap?